Well, here to talk about that and a lot more is none other than Fox and Friends host Brian Kilmeade. We got so much great feedback about him last time. We just had to get Brian back. Thanks so much for joining us. And I just showed a little bit out of that bizarre 60 Minutes interview, during which the president also claimed that inflation wasn't a problem. Have a look at this.
Mr. President, as you know, last Tuesday, the annual inflation rate came in at 8.3%. The stock market nosedived. People are shocked by their grocery bills. What can you do better and faster?
Well, first of all, let's put this in perspective. Inflation rate month to month was just an inch, hardly at all.
You're not arguing that 8.3 is good news.
No, I'm not saying it's good news, but it was 8.2 or 8.2 before. I mean, it's not. Maybe I can make it sound like all of a sudden, my God, it went to 8.2%.
It's just an inch. Brian, I get told that Republicans live in a bubble disconnected from reality. But what's going on with this guy, and who's really in charge in this White House?
It's unbelievable that, by the way, thanks so much for having me on. It's been about 400 days since he's had an interview, and 60 Minutes is usually the place where the truth comes out. They did everything to give him so many underhand softball pitches. I don't know if you're familiar with softball, but that means the easy to hit. And he continued to fumble. It's as if they didn't even brief him. For number one, he doesn't go shopping. He hasn't gone shopping for 50 years because all he's ever done is be in the U.S. Senate, and he goes to the cafeteria. If you go shopping, eggs are up 40%. The average price of groceries up 13%. If you're paycheck to paycheck, your paycheck doesn't add up. They go, the price per hour is going up. Yeah, 5%. But the average goods is 8%. We haven't seen this since 1979. And there's nothing worse than when your house is on fire, someone trying to convince you it's no big deal. That's exactly what's happening. It's wide open for Republicans. If they're not smart enough to take advantage of this, not to spin it, not to make it bigger than it is, just say to you, how much more are you paying for gas? How much are you paying for utilities? How much more are you paying to eat? Do you know right now it's cheaper, it's odd, to eat out than it is to eat at home for the most part because things are through the roof. The supply chain's still broken. My goodness, we're still having problems getting baby formula. And this guy's getting a pass because we're the only network just ask some real questions. Not with an attitude, not with a chip on our shoulder. We just ask them real questions like 60 Minutes used to. Like SNL used to make fun of both sides. That's a legendary comedy program late at night. Now it basically is an advocate place for Democrats. It's kind of a scary situation. And number one, the one China policy, 4 times. He said, oh, yeah, if Taiwan's attack, we'll attack. Really? Did you tell the Navy? Because the Navy's not ready to attack, but we might. It's strategic ambiguity. He's been on this. He was the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee for 12 years. How could that not be instinctive?
It's unbelievable. But I mean, it's not just inflation. It's not just immigration, which we've seen also, but it's also crime. And crime is a massive issue that I think the Republicans need to capitalize on. And if you look at the screen right now, we're seeing all sorts of mayhem. Here's some footage of a man terrorizing McDonald's customers with an axe in New York. I reckon the Republicans are missing a trick here in not focusing more on this as an issue, especially in Democrat jurisdictions.
I think they're trying, and I'll tell you what, you saw what happened. I'm sure you're not that familiar with what's going on, but in Virginia, it's very blue, which is very Democrat. You got a Republican walk in there and win the governorship by talking about crime and talking about schools and this. Yeah, I think you guys got the same problem, this woke system that America's terrible. I don't know if you heard that Australia's terrible. We've been telling us, and we went from being the arrogant country with a swagger when we traveled. People are like, why does America think they're so great? Now we're beating each other up to the point where we want to apologize to everybody, and they're teaching that to this next generation of children to hate their country and how we came. Then suddenly Republicans and parents are standing up going, I'm going to go with the other party that doesn't hate the country. Now, getting serious looks in a lot of these blue states are governors within 4 points of Republicans in New York. I know the footage you're looking at. That was at 2:30 in the morning in McDonald's. The guy's coming on to a woman. She wants nothing to do with him. When she wouldn't leave him alone, a bunch of other customers got in front of him. When he didn't like that, he had an axe in his knapsack. He was out of prison in 18 hours. And he had a knife with him, too. He said, it's no big deal. If I wanted to cause havoc, I would have used a gun.
But also, I mean, it's not just in big cities like New York. In Pennsylvania, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who the Dems are putting up for Senate against celebrity medico Dr. Oz, he has not only some really serious cognitive issues after a stroke, but didn't he also vote to commute the sentence of a man who hacked a woman to death with a pair of scissors? I mean, why has the Democrats just become the pro-crime party here?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We wanted criminal justice reform. There were some problems in there, but it was done in a measured way by the President Trump at the time, working with Democrats. But now that's rippled down, and they said zero cash bail because minorities can't afford to bail themselves out for the same crimes that whites can. That was the theory. So now no one goes to prison. So cops go, I'm not going to put my life on the line, risk getting shot until, misinterpreted by somebody else's iPhone. So you go ahead, commit crimes. I'm not going to go arrest you and have you out right away unless you're caught with a gun and we catch the video and the guy bleeds to death in front of you. So it's a combination of bad policies. And bottom line, we're in the line of fire. So we're going to work. People are getting on buses, just going to subways, tourists coming in. And it's a situation where we got 31,000 cops in New York City, but for the most part, they're disempowered. We also could hire another 1,200. Nobody's lining up to go to the academy.
Yeah.
So it's a series of bad decisions. I dare to say it's almost anti-American decisions. They're not even fun to debate. It's right and wrong. You're thinking to yourself, what are you guys thinking? Are you even interested at all in the survival of your neighbor?
Well, it's a great question, and one I reckon is going to be answered in less than 50 days at the midterm elections. Brian Kilmeade, thanks so much, as always, for joining us.